Hi! Happy New Year! Happy 2023! How you doing, Dave?
We're here. We made it. I was giving Maddy a heart attack because I was not actually present.
Until about a minute before we started. Yeah, that's okay.
I was lost looking at all the amazing things that everybody had been doing while I was vacationing or just not, paying attention to work during the holidays. So I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, this is great! I got to talk about this. I got to talk about that." And then next thing you know, it's like 2 minutes till go time, and I apologize. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to start calling you, or I was just going to let it happen and let you be late. And then when you did inevitably hop up, be like, "Oh, Dave, you're the worst."
Yes. Well, and I would have deserved every ounce of it.
Of course. Yeah. So, well, welcome back, everybody. For those of you who are able to take some time off, this is Community Stand-Up. If this is your first ever community stand-up, they're a good time. We always have fun. I'm Maddy. I'm with Dave. We're not going to do real intros today because we don't have a guest because it's the new year, and that would have required me planning things before I took 3 weeks off, which I didn't. Instead, what we're going to do today is we're going to do the usual, show some blogs, show some packages and other things that Dave has picked out from the community. And then we're going to do kind of like an Ask Me Anything AMA segment, if you will. Maybe AMAA, Ask Me Only Almost Anything, because like, don't ask me things that I'm not allowed to tell you because then I can't tell you them and then I look like a jerk. But yeah, that'll be fun. So bring your questions, start thinking of them. As always, our links are in the wonderful URL list, which is now going out to all of the chats on Twitch and YouTube and all the places we stream. Luce, we've missed you too. Nice to see you. It's been great. I hope everyone had a restful break and holiday and whatever you celebrate. I spent most of the 2.5 weeks off unpacking my house, which we moved into in August, by the way. So it's been 3 months. But I now have shelves that do not look like piles of junk. And I put a plant here. This is my aloe vera wing. The same aloe you might remember from Maddy's kitchen many years ago, but that has been repotted. So, oh, you're trying to turn on your lights.
I didn't know if it would make any difference whatsoever with the angle I'm at. But
yeah. Well, so the colors that I had on my shelves before I moved, one of the pins bent and would only show everything in blue. And I was like, I can't have this. So I took them off and I did these cute little string lights. So, cool. All right. People are already starting to pop questions in. So save those because I'll have to scroll back to find them, but I will try and keep note of them. Oh, can I favorite them? Oh, I can favorite them. That's cool. Good. All right. I'm going to start doing that. I don't know how that works. Let me share my screen. Present. Share screen. Screen 2. And then, wait, got to change the layout. And then I got to add it. Whew, we're rusty. Dave and I were both on the wrong mic. Why is this not showing anything? Hello? StreamYard's apparently rusty too. Add.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Many of our apps at the beginning of this season have needed to boot the registers.
Yeah. The first thing as a lot of people know, I'm sure, you come back to work after a couple weeks off, and the first thing you do is you spend the whole day updating things. That was pretty much my first day. Wow, this isn't working.
Is my screen sharing?
Okay, yours worked, so it's me.
Send me your links.
Leave. Will it stop the broadcast?
Probably. Let's not try that.
Huh. All right, Dave. Why don't you? Well,
just chat me your links and I'll open them.
Hold on. Let me try this. Let me try sharing a window. That might work instead.
Y2K23 bug.
Okay, that worked. Yeah, seriously. My good friend was going to throw a Y2K themed New Year's party. And then, like all good things in the past 2.5 years, she got COVID. But we are now doing a rescheduled Y2K party on January 20th. So we are doing 1/20/2023/2000 party. That is what we've been calling it. It is a disaster in the making. Cool. All right. I sent the links already. Let's get started. So first of all, Daniel is doing some migration. So this is a nice weather app. I'm sure we've shown it before on Community Stand-Up. But he's been working on migrating it to .NET MAUI. Some of the efficiency things he's getting, some of the like control changes. We've talked a lot about using border instead of frame these days. Very good. So he said it was relatively easy, which is pretty good for migration, which we've heard from a lot of people. Some people are like, it's more intense than I expected it to be, but it totally depends on your app, and we're working on it.
Yeah. I think it also is, if we can, because we have no agenda, so I'm just going to interrupt you and we can talk about it. What I'm definitely hearing from our team that work closely with customers and stuff is a lot of companies are doing the migration. I mean, if you just did it, right, it would go relatively smoothly and quickly. But everybody seems to want to take the opportunity while the engine is on the floor to refactor and to be like, okay, well, we didn't like the way we did this to begin with, so we're going to rewrite it. Or, we had heavy reliance on relative layout and it wasn't performant and it's no longer in Maui. So, like, let's go ahead and adopt a grid. But, there's a learning curve for some folks if you've never used a particular layout and now you are making that transition. So, there's some of that, but, we haven't found anyone that has a blocker. You may need to write a little extra code, and we'll make it better over time.
Yeah.
And that's our goal, right? Is to fill these gaps, solve these bugs. But it's pretty nice that the architecture allows for all this flexibility.
Yeah. If you ask the people who started trying to migrate in like June or July versus the people who started trying to migrate like a month ago, it's way better. So that's always good. That means we're improving things. Also, the big thing of I was going to do like a whole 2022 recap thing. And then I was like, the real thing about 2022 is that we shipped the thing. That's very exciting.
Shipped it twice.
Shipped it twice. Actually, 3 times if you count VS Mac. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We shipped it in .NET 6. We shipped VS Windows. We shipped .NET 7. And then we shipped VS Mac. It's pretty cool. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. And, again, to double down on it, double click on it.
Oh, yeah.
I need to work on my buzzwords again.
The
I'm out of
corporate jargon
practice.
back in action.
Out of practice. But, May was obviously not the original date we wanted to ship. So we were a bit behind on that. And then with the .NET 7 coming directly on the heels of it, we were we inserted into the .NET 7 releases at RC1. Well, that's improvement based on .NET 6 timeframe, but that's still not where we wanted to be, right? But we were there on day 1 with GA of .NET 7, so that's awesome. That's progress. And where I'm leading up to is that we're about to drop a .NET 8 preview 1 in the near future, and we have builds. We're on. We're fired up. So all of that progress, that incremental improvement is there. And I look at those things in a retrospective, as to what's gone well, where have we been making the improvements and the progress that gives us some hope and some excitement for the year ahead. So
yeah,
I'm gonna keep probably making those kinds of comments today.
Look at you, so optimistic going into the new year. I started off the new year saying 2024 will be my year. 2023, I'm writing it off.
I saw that.
we're going to do our best, and that's that, and we'll regroup. But Dave's here is all positive. He's great.
I'm trying to be realistic too, but I think we have real reason for excitement.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about MP3 here, because music and or other files is great. Speaking of, my band should be releasing our single in about a month. So you can use the MP3 file, shameless plug, to play it. Don't do that. Don't listen to it. It's fine. Oh, more stars things here. Okay, good. I'm just making sure I start your questions as they come in so I don't lose them. Yeah. All right. So using one of our favorite Gerald libraries, you could do that. Or you could do native, which is what Badan breaks down for you here. You can just play a raw MP3 file. It's actually not a ton of native code. One of the great things about Maui is like you can do the native code in the same way that you would before with Xamarin, where you make like separate files. You could also just do all this like in an if-def if you wanted to. Might make your file kind of janky. You know, all these different things. But just 2 files here. And then the shared code in Maui that literally is just the interface and then play sound command. And then you have to do the construction stuff, of course. So make sure you compile the right things. Which I think did we make this easier? We should make this easier. I thought we were going to do something where we just kind of inferred it from your naming scheme, but maybe we haven't done that yet. That's an SDK thing.
Too small on the screen. I can't see what you're talking about. You're talking about referring to the file name.
Yeah. Right? Like .android.cs. This is like, do we just include those automatically or no?
So there are some of those build task rules in our stuff.
Okay.
But you can customize it on top of it. I mean, we don't give you all the different varieties.
Cool. Interesting. All right. The Lord of the Rings CS Proj. Amazing. Cool. Native code. Andreas, who I saw in the chat. Hi, Happy New Year. This is a good one. This is, if you'll notice, we have very few blogs this month because people were writing code instead of blogging, which is probably pretty good, or taking time off, which is what I did. And all of these blogs, with the exception of one, came out in the last like 48 hours. So people are off to a great start with the new year. But another media focused one, this is photo capturing with Maui. So this goes into the permissions for iOS. The permissions are already there with the plugin that Andreas used here, Xam plugin media. And then this is it. It's really just another quick little thing. You can pick it, you can take it. Look at those nice buttons. It's on GitHub. There's some file info stuff, magic, which I ignore file stuff. But yeah, all cool little things, cool little tips and tricks. This one is great. I picked this solely because I love this picture of Santa. Very cute, and his reindeer. So Leo Marie came out with this, just a usual one of her blogs, if you're familiar with them, breaking down the UI into different parts so that you can kind of come up with the layout, doing all these different things. She has both light and dark mode, which I think is adorable because dark mode is green, which I think is very cute. I like that. And then a vertical stack optimized, with the Santa picture and just some title and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So easy. We always love these like UI replication things. Oh, a good circle button, of course. Is from the static resource Christmas circle. I wish I could click, but it's got the corner radius built in, which is cool. And then the shadow is this little drop down, and that looks very, very nice. Always love a good shadow. So cool. All right. Last community blog. Let's talk some Sharpnado. And I saw that David did have Sharpnado tabs in his list, which I was going to call out because these things are awesome. Look at how cool those tabs are. But using delayed view instead of lazy view for things. So delayed view is one of the things you can use with Sharpnado to reduce, like, to basically give the user some indication that your page is loading and then reduce the loading time because it loads things lazily. So it's part of Sharpnado tabs, I believe. I'm 99% sure. But you can use it kind of wherever. You can use it for the homepage of your app. You can use it for individual pages, blah, blah, blah. Very cool. Love that stuff. Dave will talk more about it, so I'm not going to go into it. Quickly, we wanted to show, just for those of you who are getting started or are now starting, we've seen a lot of people starting to give talks about Maui in your respective communities and circles, which is awesome. And have been asking us for kind of like the go-to links to give. I refer back to Matt's blog post from June, basically, when I need the list of links for everything Maui. And speaking of list of links, let me send that again. So those of you who have joined, follow along. There's a lot of great stuff in here, and this is all still relevant. But the 3 that I'd call out are obviously our docs, build your first app, pretty simple, which we now have all devices and oh my goodness, IDEs. So good to go on that. The learning module. So it's a learning path, which is comprised of 7 modules. It says it's about 6 hours. If you look, there are a bunch of different modules in the learning path. So you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want, or you can go through and do them all. I know that a lot of people are talking about transitioning like either their Xamarin Forms teams or their native teams or whatever to Maui developers, or, you know, existing .NET developers that maybe are going to go move to the native side of your stack. So if you want something that's just like get your team started with Maui, like you can all spend a day. Excuse me. I'm good. It's not COVID. I tested this morning. I just have a cough. I'm sorry. You can spend a day or 6 hours or like an hour a day for a week or something, having everyone plug through this learning path and then get up to speed. Also, if you're someone who likes to give workshops or likes to do workshops, the .NET MAUI workshop we've actually standardized. So when Dave and I and whoever else go to conferences now, this is the workshop we give. And the reason we use this open source one is because A, it's kept up to date. B, it's all of the things we think people should learn from a workshop. And C, you can go home from the workshop and still have access to all of the data, information, go back to it. You can go and then give that workshop to other people. So, you know, if you go to a conference and you want to take the workshop in person, we definitely enjoy that because we get to have a lot of conversations with you. You'll get to meet the people who's running the workshop, and it's usually a lot more intimate and hands-on. Didn't like that phrasing. A lot more personable. Yeah, a lot more personable. But you can also go and take the workshop on your own time or deliver it yourself to other people using all the resources here. Literally every time we do the workshop, I get Clone This fresh. So you don't have to do anything. You might have to delete James Montemagno's name from the slides. So that's it. Anyways, that's how you get started. We're going to turn it over to Dave to do all of his packages starting, I believe, yes, here, all the way down.
Well, we're not gonna do all of them, but they're in the URL list so that folks can browse at their leisure, their leisure.
Their leisure.
Go ahead and share my screen. There you go.
Right. There we go. Oh, thank God.
Now, okay, cool. I have a new keyboard, and so I don't actually know where my plus button is because I don't know. It's one of those keyboards where right? Everything's not labeled on this particular keyboard. So,
great.
So I have no idea where the plus is to zoom in, but thankfully just a little control mouse wheel gets the job done. All right. So while I'm doing this, Maddy, you can go back through I saw some questions that I think we definitely want to get to. Make sure you get them all starred. Yep. I noticed this one in the Maui repo, adding some Bluetooth permissions for the different flavors of Android and such. So that's cool to see some community contributions. This one comes from Janice or Giannis, probably Giannis, right? Germany, Giannis Weil. I think I'm right. All right. So let me see. I do have a lot of stuff here. I've noticed this one getting some attention, and the author pinged me and was asking about how to get some help from the Maui team to open some things up. So we'll have some of those conversations. This is another C# UI, kind of a C# markup approach to writing your UI. I haven't looked in depth at it to see how it compares to the C# Community Toolkit markup stuff. Or to comment for that matter. But I love the fact that there are more options out there. I think I will be interested to see if in the near future we can all come together and bring our powers of C-sharpness together to build the one to rule them all. That would be pretty nice, I think. That's probably overly optimistic, but hey, it's January 5th, so optimism abounds. All right, so Mr. Sharpnado has several packages that I wanted to highlight. This one is Maui Nuke, which if you've not heard of, you may have heard of Android's Glide library, and we have a .NET binding for that, and it actually is in Maui now for Android images. It's a caching, performance-related thing, and Maui.nuke is the iOS side of that. So you can include this in your project and it will implement optimized caching for your iOS app. So if you look at this, there are some benchmarks that Jean-Marie has included here, and the nuke stuff is fast, right? Much faster, and even faster than FF image loading. So if you have a Xamarin project and you're using FF image loading almost exclusively for the performance and the caching, look at this. This might be the option for you to replace that, because I'm unaware of FF image being updated at this time for Net 7 and beyond. We've forgotten about Net 6, right? Like that's old news. We're about to just be on the Net 8 train. All right. What else does Jean-Marie have for us? The tabs, as Maddy highlighted there. And actually, I saw a tweet. Maybe somebody, Gerald or somebody, can bring that up from earlier today. Someone has created a little demo with some very nice animations and a custom tab implementation. So if you are using a tabbed page or you're using Shell, but you want to go, what would we say, the full Monty, and control all of your, you didn't like that, Maddy? You're making faces. You want to control every bit of that tab bar and how it appears and have action buttons and animations and such. Then I think that Sharpnado tabs and maybe one of the other tabs solutions is the way to go, as opposed to trying to bend the Android and iOS native tabs to your will. Just a little recommendation there for you. Uranium UI, I've showed that off in the past. Basically, I went through and looked to see what had been updated or what was new in the past month. This one is from our friend Tim, Mr. Drastic Actions. That's what it is, right? Drastic Actions. This is a drag and drop for Maui. So you can drop this NuGet into your project, and you get some very simple, easy to do drag and drop working in your Maui app. So drag and drop is something you can stitch together yourself. The events, the gestures are all there, but this looks to make it a bit easier. So I love that. Thanks, Tim. Tim actually has quite a few packages that I see that he's shipped recently, so you can check his stuff out. And that's one of the things I kind of hope through sharing these is that you find some of the contributors and maintainers out there who are prolific. And if you like their stuff, I don't know, buy them a coffee or fund them. Does GitHub still does that funding thing, right? Yeah. I think that's how Dan Siegel bought his island, wherever that is.
I have no idea.
This is from Lewin Walker, and it is a breadcrumb control. I love many things about this. First of all, that it is a breadcrumb control because it's a good UX pattern for different scenarios. But also
delicious.
Breadcrumbs can be.
Yep.
Can be. But he has a production example. So it's a real live app using .NET MAUI. So check that out. And maybe Xamarin Forms. So breadcrumb control, and that's one of the other things is like some of these things I didn't see a whole lot back in Xamarin, but I'm seeing a lot of new things show up. I'm not going to cover all of these, but Shiny templates. Let's see who else has templates. Brushtail templates. Vladislav has a set of templates. Esri has shipped templates for their ArcGIS stuff. There are so many template packages out there today. Some of them, like Shiny, is going to be like a kitchen sink, although he may have some more optimized ones. But tons of NuGet downloads on these guys. So apparently our 2 flavors of templates leaves some openings on the menu, if you will, for other dishes to be served. I don't know. La-di-da. Let me have a drink of my Zevia. This segment brought to you by Not Sugar.
Wow. I missed you. Look at you. So healthy and positive coming into this year.
New year, same old me is what I said. Let's see. Okay. MapSui. And I feel bad because apparently this MapSui package has been out since like May of last year. I I guess I already had that open. So the Maui implementation of it. So it's kind of a optimized mapping solution that supports Maui now. So you've got your Strava clone, or maybe that is actually Strava. No, that's Squadra, powered by Strava. And then this is some kind of a game, I guess. So if you're looking for options for your mapping solutions, this is one to check out. Seems to be quite popular, has been around a while. And if we look down here at the bottom, lots of contributors. Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Gerald seems to think it's Maps UI, but I prefer Map Sui because it reminds me of System of a Down song, Chop Suey.
Right. Yep. It is Map Sui. As a matter of fact, it's explained somewhere.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Right up. Map Sui.
Yes. So there you go.
Ha! Gerald. Ha!
Steema, long time
that they also had at ArcGIS had a mapping thing out for Maui before May, and we didn't mention it.
Yes, they did.
But
yes, they did.
I maybe didn't mention it. I probably tweeted about it and then forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, there was definitely some tweeting. What is Morton upset at us in the chat or something?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Dot.
Sorry, Dot.
That's my bad.
Hi, Morton. Happy New Year. All right, go ahead.
Steema, longtime component vendor that has supported Xamarin forever, now has some previews of their Maui bits. So beta for Maui, and you can check out their different controls and charts. So it's nice to see them shipping these days. Let's see, what else do we have here? Those were templates, and templates. As I mentioned, so to make up for it, Mr. Morton, Esri, templates. How do I point? There we go. What else? Community Toolkit. I am noticing that lots of good things happening here. And I believe that, Gerald, you guys with Kim and whoever else have a stand-up after this, like later today, I think. So y'all should check out that. There is a preview, or you can get the build of the media element control, which is in progress. So you should check that out. And there's also quite a few other cool things here. There's a dialogues PR that's open, email validation, new markup extensions. Let's see here. This is, I was looking to see what all was happening because I mentioned the Sharp UI at the top and C# for markup, very similar. So what has been happening with C# markup in the community toolkit is like, is it growing? Is it expanding? And lo and behold, Mr. Matt Lacey has a PR here adding a bunch of new previously unimplemented methods on Visual Element, which is the ancestor of all the UI controls that you're using. So things like anchor X, anchor Y, etc. So if you've been using C# markup and you've been missing some of those and maybe implementing them yourselves, like I was doing some work over the holidays and I was like, why can't I just do a dot style and add my style, my actual, Maui style? And I wrote the extension method myself because that's how C# works. But it's nice to have the stuff in the markup toolkit. So that's cool. Let's see here. All right, we're about half hour in. So I am going to pick just like one more, probably this one. Let's do this one. So collection view, very important control. We know it. Working hard to improve the collection view control inside of .NET MAUI, and love that Jean-Marie has brought his collection view control from Forms to MAUI here, and it improves some performance, and I think adds probably some features. Yeah, he's got his own horizontal list view has finally been renamed to collection view. That's exciting. So if you're looking for options and again, you want that extra level of customization, ooh, let's play the video. Then you can check out Sharpnado's collection view. All looks good. Cool. So with that, I think I should stop. There are more. Check the URL list. There's a media gallery. Xamarin Media Gallery has been updated for Maui. X Calendar, mop-ups. If you're looking for that RG plugins, pop-ups, RG pop-ups. Mop-ups is the answer for you. Maui Audio. You mentioned Gerald's plugin there. Local notifications. So check out your list. Let's go to the questions. Let's do 27 minutes of ask me almost anything.
Whew. All right. Lots of compliments for the Esri maps, by the way. So let's start from the top of the list from 1:04 p.m. Eastern time early in the show. Will Maui be updated with an AI to just code the app for me? Great question off the top. No. I have seen ChatGPT does write some .NET. So that's cool. I think it does write Maui XAML. GitHub Copilot, however, does work for Maui. I've been using it. Not yet for XAML. It's on my January fun projects list. So you might actually, I know this was a joke of a question, but you might actually have Copilot write a lot of your UI at some point, which is cool. And it will, we'll make sure that it's all based on open source stuff. So if you write a lot of C# UI markup, that will then contribute to Copilot, which is pretty cool. Would you recommend the current version, which is .NET 7 of Maui for big organizations? Yes. David, I know you would say yes. Do you have any reasoning behind that besides yes?
Well, I mean, I think that the very big organizations have kind of some unique criteria in many cases. They want to know, can I get an important person at Microsoft? You see my dog. Can I get an important person from Microsoft on the phone if something happens, right? Or can we actually have dedicated support, people, real people to actually talk to help us when we have a need? Then there's also, is this thing going to be around for a good number of years? .NET is how many years old?
21
ish. Yeah. I mean, we're not going anywhere. It's solid. Microsoft is deeply invested, and so those sorts of things matter perhaps more to large organizations where an application tends to live longer, whereas maybe a smaller organization, a small business, something like that, you have a mobile app, and you may not even hesitate to rewrite it every couple of years.
Yeah.
So.
Dave, if your dog, I can't really hear it, but I can see your dog coughing behind you. And if your dog throws up on stream, I will give you $100.
She's not going to. It's a reverse snort, a reverse sneeze. Boston Terriers have this thing. So I guess maybe it's all short snout dogs.
Yeah. Short snoot, please.
Short snoot.
Technical term. This is a great question from Pro Security. Any advanced topic streams documentation expected for Maui instead of all of the getting started in Hello World, which is what we usually talk about? So yes, basically we had to choose what to do. And when you have to choose between advanced stuff and easy stuff, you do the easy stuff first, especially because we're obviously trying to get new people to come into Maui. But that being said, we've kind of reached the logarithmic peak of getting started content. There's always more we can do, and there's always more we will do. And obviously we have to keep those things updated. But just in general, you'll start to see more blogs come out from team members and that are a little bit more in depth. Last month we had Michael on Community Stand-Up, or 2 months ago, and he showed a pretty niche scenario for hot reload for using metadata update handler to trigger specific hot reload updates in your app, depending on the type of stuff you're using. So we are sprinkling a little bit more advanced in while we keep it beginner friendly. I would love to see at some point, and maybe we should talk to James Montagna or someone about it, Maui Learn 2.0. What's next? Oh yeah, let's do some cool stuff now. Let's add auth. Dave actually just gave his first ever talk in authentication in early December at Dev Intersection. And then it went great. He called it authentication for dummies like me. unofficial title, and it went pretty well. But those are all the kinds of scenarios we're working on, starting to flesh out a little bit more now. Yep. Anything you want to add to that?
I would just add, let us know what you want to see. Give us some ideas.
Okay. Somewhat doc related, but also Windows related. Maui Win UI app as a single file executable, which I don't know if you mean like .exe or MSIX, but not the packaged. It's on. I don't know. Windows, I avoid. I do not avoid anything at this job except for the Windows packaging story, which I do not understand, and thus I have Dave.
No, you don't. I don't. Yeah, I'm not good at publishing Windows apps either. And one of our other PM teammates owns that. So I would say that unfortunately the Windows document, well, I say unfortunately, because you said it's a mess, but the Windows documentation, because it is a Windows app and the same publishing guidance applies to a Maui app because it is a WinUI app. That's really your best bet there. And I would recommend filing your feedback on that doc to say, hey, this is a mess. This doesn't make sense. I'm running into this issue. And then the people who do actually know how that stuff works, not me, can answer that question for you. Yeah. I'd like to know a lot of things, but I'm going to be honest. This is not an area where I'm going to be of help to you.
Okay, good. I feel better because I was like, I feel like I should know this, but Dave probably knows it and I don't. We have been hiring like new PMs, which is cool. And one of our PMs, her entire focus, poor thing, new to the company, new to PM, was a teacher for 10 years. Becky, if you hear, hi. And what we give her is sorting out the publishing story, not just for iOS and Android, but also for Windows. We're like, here you go. This is a totally normal project that doesn't have 20 years of history. And then she was like, wait, there's a lot going on here. But she's doing great. She's making great progress. So we're really hoping to have improvements to the publishing workflow in general, and then also just more clarity around the Windows story from the Maui side. But yeah, always file issues and stuff on the docs. We get emailed about it all the time if we don't respond to them. So you have to. Cool. Oh, are there any plans to render a React.js web app or any other SPA type, single page application type in Maui? Dave?
Yeah, so I think that this is actually a very interesting scenario. And from talking to, many customers, I think that there is real opportunity and use and value in looking to do something here. So is there a plan today? No. You certainly can roll your own. I happen to know of a team in Microsoft that has React.js web app hosted inside of a .NET component that is essentially doing what Blazor WebView to a degree does. So we are going to be talking more about that in our planning for the upcoming period. No plan just yet. I will also point you perhaps to look at some of the Progress team and what they have shown about doing hybrid Maui with Angular. And I don't know if they've also done React, but the same concepts would apply. So check that out. But very interesting question. And Ryan, if you have specific needs in that area, I would love to get an email from you. Let's talk more about it so I can build that base of evidence that this is useful.
Cool. All right. Here's like a meta question. Ooh. How are we going to create more of a community with Maui than we had with Xamarin, such as more community libraries? Which I will start by saying the Xamarin community was pretty awesome. I was very surprised when I started my Xamarin journey. And there's a lot. And a lot of those people are continuing or have been in contact with us or have been big proponents and testers of Maui from the start. So we can only go up and continue to do things like this. I don't know. What else are we doing? We're doing a lot of things.
Well, I would say that why is it my responsibility to create?
All right, there's 2022 Dave back.
I mean, obviously, I want to create I don't create the community, right? Like
Yeah.
we build the product. We certainly are the talking heads here talking and trying to shape the culture of the product and the community. But
Yeah.
creating opportunities for you, I guess, is one thing that we try to do often. Encourage you and guide you where we can. Make
Show
sure
your
that you
blog.
have the yeah, sharing the blog, sharing all the nuggets and stuff that you have here, giving you a platform to to give you incentive to create things for the community. But by and large, I think the best thing that we can be doing is creating an awesome product, creating
Yeah.
awesome developer experiences so that people come to the community and want to engage and want to share. So yeah,
Cool.
I just went the whole spectrum on that answer, didn't I?
I loved it. That was great. I told you it was a meta question. That's the best.
That's a good
Um,
question.
Much less meta question. News on the Maui Avalonia integrations, which we talked about at .NET Conf. There
Yeah.
was support for Avalonia UI being kind of ingested by Maui.
I saw some PRs early mid December on the repo where some of that work has been happening, but then we all went on holiday, so I don't think that there's anything new to report. But we are definitely very interested in continuing that and seeing that go forward, and working with the Avalonia team. So I would imagine you will see more about that in the coming weeks and months.
Cool. Cool. Um, all right. Here we go. I actually don't have the answer to this, Dave. I don't know if you have the answer to this, but I can commiserate. Any ETA on the transition to NuGet packages for Maui? .NET workloads are terrible. So, .NET workloads, in theory, are actually wonderful. However, with .NET workloads, we have been building the bus while we're driving it, if you will, i.e., we've been doing workloads and creating those also while we're creating Maui, which is where a lot of the chaos has come from. What we really should have done was made sure that workloads were like ready to go and had a defined way of how they wanted to do things before we started shipping like a major framework with it. But we didn't do that because we're cool and fun and crazy. I don't know if there are any strong plans on transitioning to NuGet packages. I know it's come up, but I don't think we've made a commitment to it. Dave?
So we have, and I think it's not going to happen in this service release, but in the next service release, split out into NuGet packages. So it's a bit confusing to say this because a workload technically is a NuGet package, just a different kind, not the kind that you can browse and see necessarily and use in the same way. So under the hood, those transitions are happening. However, shipping it in the same way that Xamarin shipped NuGet as a NuGet is not yet. We're not there yet. So this is going to give us more flexibility, and it will be primarily transparent to you as a developer. But I think that .NET workloads, the pains that we have had over the past couple of releases, as this is a new technology and we are the first workload to be a optional workload to be adopting it, those things still need to be improved. Like, I mean, they're not going away. So a NuGet package doesn't solve all of that pain. But there is work happening there. I guess that's the long version of the short version of the long version.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about workloads, the reason we moved away from what we did with Xamarin is because those were entirely tied to the IDE. So if you didn't update Visual Studio, you couldn't get Xamarin updates unless you kind of went in and individually did the NuGet packages. And we'd have to ship. It was a whole pain. So like, we were telling people if you want the next version of Xamarin, like you have to update Visual Studio. And that's kind of a lot to ask. Workloads also, make it a little bit easier on CI/CD, but there are some things, there are some kinks, so we're working through them, and apparently making some transition type, not to the old style that we had, but to something new. So that's cool.
Well, and to be fair, we still our guidance is still do all your upgrades through Visual Studio releases.
Yes.
So that you're keeping everything in line. However, I think that there is many of us that would love to see a greater decoupling of all of it. especially, I would imagine those of you who maintain DevOps environments and things like that would like to see things just work independently and not require these, or not expect to require the Visual Studio versions, because then the versioning just gets crazy.
True. Cool. All right. How to improve startup time in Android. What I wanted to do was Google the link to the blog. Oh God, I keep doing this thing where when I drag a tab onto my second monitor, I put the top of the tab out of the window, so I can't.
Right.
Very frustrating. Hold on. Right click. Move. Let me see if I can Google it. I know Jonathan Peppers, the wonderful Peppers, has a blog post about this. And it is great. And I do not remember where it is or what it is, but I will see if I can find it in the chat. Quick options, like for release, you can turn on ahead of time compilation. That does it all for you. So it's a little bit faster. But actually,
Yeah,
that's slow startup. That's small. That shrinks the package. No, expands the package.
Loads the package, but it makes your startup fast.
It makes your startup faster. Yeah.
So then the middle ground is the startup profiling, or partial AOT is what we call it. So a startup profile is something that we create based on what we know our templates and most apps probably do during startup. But you can actually record your own profile of your application's startup and then use that profile to optimize your startup for future releases. So there is information in the docs about some of these things. The how to record your own profile is probably something that Jonathan Peppers has on a wiki and or somewhere in the Android repository. So ping Jonathan Peppers and he can answer that. So those are kind of the fundamental first steps to improving your startup performance on Android. And if that doesn't get you to where you need to be, there would be some other steps, but they're more in depth and not for us to share here.
I'm also sharing the giant performance improvements in Maui blog from June, which has some cool numbers. So you can see that we're working on this all up too, which is cool. All right, let's see. Wow. Niche. Can we execute tests on Docker Linux? Easier to maintain than Windows build servers. If your tests are written in .NET, yes, you can. That's pretty much it. We don't have like a UI testing framework currently for Maui. That is what we're saying is the one. There are a couple options. But when it comes to like unit tests, I'm assuming you're writing them in C#. So yeah, you can run your unit test project in Docker.
Yeah. And well, can you run an Android emulator in Docker, or is that virtualization inception? If you can get an Android emulator running, you can also run your tests within a Android context. But of course, we don't have a Linux platform desktop. So Android is really the only platform you can target from a Linux environment.
Right. Yep. I'm going to go try that. Andreas, maybe not the right place to ask. What happened to the Xamarin Weekly newsletter? I don't know, actually. I've been trying to figure it out too. Maybe Kim will know if you join the community toolkit stand up in an hour or so.
Or Luce. Is Luce in the chat?
Or Luce. Yeah, Luce, if you know what's up. Someone tell me, because I love that too. Sam Basu's Sands of Maui. And do not Google Sands of Maui with no context, because it will just show you a bunch of pictures of the beach, and then you will be very upset. Google like Telerik or like Sam Basu Sands of .NET Maui, and that will get you closer. But he does a weekly roundup of blogs and stuff, which I usually really enjoy. So check that one out. All right. Ooh, Morton with the hard hitters. I love it. Will we see some of the deprecated Xamarin components ported to .NET 7? Nothing's going to .NET 6 anymore. Sorry. But AR Core, I don't know. If you're familiar with Xamarin components, you know what this is. And if you're not, don't worry about it.
So plan of record, what has been ported is all that we have plans to port. If somebody wants to take on ownership of those things that are deprecated and not ported, we would probably discuss that with you, but no plans.
Morton wants to make sure that we know that .NET 6 is LTS, which is true, but that doesn't mean we're going to add anything to it. Unless it's to fix things. Like, right? That's how that works. That's how LTS works. Yeah. Long-term support, for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that you can hang on it for a little bit longer. Like Linux versions are big on LTS versus non-LTS releases. And it won't break your things. We'll keep updating it with fixes and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But .NET 7 is the hot newness. And then .NET 8 will be LTS. So every other year is an LTS. All
and
right.
that only applies to .NET SDK runtime. That does not apply to MAUI.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. MAUI's support is entirely based on you explain it, because I'll bring up the page. You explain it.
So MAUI releases do ship on the same cadence as .NET releases. Support lifecycle is 18 months. So you have a 6-month overlap with the next release. And that's primarily driven because we depend upon or have a, reliance upon the Android and the iOS SDKs and their support and their cadence. So .NET SDK runtime does not have that, and they can go for 3 years just fine. But that's why we're 18 months and they are every other year long-term support. And yeah, the link in the chat there explains it.
Cool. Where's in-app payment for MAUI from literally everything? James Montemagno has a plugin for it. It's very good. We might as well just use it.
Use it.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to add it to the community toolkit, feel free. But it probably wouldn't be a first-party MAUI thing. So, yeah.
Not for now. I mean, I know that it is useful and is perhaps something that we would entertain, but stop snoring.
We actually can't. I mean, barely. Only the stray snore can we hear. So
I was actually talking to the listeners.
Oh,
just kidding.
You were talking to me? What time is it? Oh, we still have plenty of time. Good. 5 minutes.
We're good.
Do we have an MQTT connection library? We have messaging.
One, yeah. The MQTT exists. Yep.
Yeah.
It's Kazoo, Daniel Casalino.
Oh yeah.
I use it for my I don't have the whole app working yet, but I use it for a little iPad to computer communication.
If you can find the link, that'd be great, because I only see Xamarin Forms MQTT samples. But we do also have messaging built in, so whatever you want there. Advanced camera controls like camera X binding. Not to have like the third answer in the row be like, talk to the community toolkit folks, but that's a community toolkit question for sure. They've done a lot of work. They've done a lot of work with Media Element and a bunch of stuff there. So Gerald was sharing that community toolkit stand-up is at, I believe, 3 Eastern, right? Noon Pacific. Clarify. Same place, same time. Not same time, same place. So feel free to tune into that or catch the recording later. Camera view will be on the MAUI community toolkit with camera X, according to Pedro. So thank you, community toolkit.
Thanks, Pedro.
You are the best. We already answered part of this. Is MAUI truly ready for enterprise applications? But there are many issues open on GitHub. We've gotten this a lot. Like, there are issues open on GitHub. This is gonna sound like a cop-out, and Dave can probably word this more eloquently than I do. But if you go to any major technology stack, they do have many major issues open on GitHub. Just FYI. And it's totally opinion-based if you think MAUI is worse than others. But MAUI is ready and is shipping with enterprise applications. They have sane workarounds for issues that they have faced. If not, we have fixed them. But yeah, issues on GitHub is not a really good indicator of any type of product's stability, because some of them have really active communities that know to file issues on GitHub. Some of them have internal tools for issue filing. So even if there are GitHub issues, they might get closed and moved to an internal tool that you can't actually track and monitor. It's a nice one of many different pieces of information you can use to evaluate a technology, but it's not the end all be all. Just FYI. And we do like continuously monitor our GitHub issues. We have a whole new triage process that we've been implementing and rolling out. That I know a lot of you folks. There was a topic in the chat about something getting locked and like what the procedure is for unlocking it. So, in fact, the more issues there are on Maui, the better that probably is for you, because that means that people have already discovered issues you're hitting, and then we can be aware of them and fix them without you having to be the one to make the repro. So.
But do make sure that when you find issues that are impacting you, that you add a reaction and or add any information, because that factors into our issue scoring as we work to prioritize our issues. So we recognize that we've got issues. We don't, we'd all love to have 0 issues. But we do feel like there are sane workarounds for things, which is not to say that that means we don't fix them. We're fixing them in the order of prioritization that we find. So help us prioritize, and we'll get better and better release over release. So cool. But we're super glad to see that customers are being successful. Some folks have a higher tolerance for writing and maintaining code themselves and then removing it later than others. We know that. We talk to a lot of different companies and developers.
Yeah. Cool. All right, we have time for one more. Let's add a real doozy. Any plans to add web or insert X here as another supported platform?
You want me to answer it? So there is no plan for that. And would love to have it. But you've got great option like Uno. I saw somebody else asked previously about what about Linux, and Uno supports Linux, Avalonia supports Linux. So you have great options in the .NET ecosystem for those, and I would refer you to them. In our conversations with customers, the need to take a client application, a .NET MAUI Xamarin application, into a browser context, like in part or even wholesale, is not a very common scenario. So I totally get the desire for it, and that there are those scenarios that exist. It's just not a big enough target for us to make that part of our plans. I think the more sane option, now since we're now using the word sane, thank you, Maddy, for bringing that to my 2023 vocabulary, is to build those pieces that need to go to the web in Blazor, and then share that to the web, but keep the Maui hybrid and or Maui application native. So
yeah. I mean, if you want to build web support for Maui, that'd be great.
I mean, it is open source. As a matter of fact, Frank Kruger's experiment from back in the day, but also our WPF platform for Xamarin Forms and the Mac OS and the Linux, the GDK, those were all contributions. Like we didn't write that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we did actually do the Mac OS stuff, or at least.
Yeah, but that's because
Rui did it during dinner.
So, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all we have time for. That was great. I still have access to my email, so I don't think we were fired, which means we didn't do anything bad during an AMA. It's always a risk when they don't let, or when, Dave and I don't have a guest to do the second half of this show as our buffer. So we did pretty good. Cool. Thank you, everybody. Happy January. I'm super excited to see all of the blogs you come out with your renewed passion this month. Keep an eye out for the .NET 8 previews of Maui. Keep an eye out for upcoming preview releases of Visual Studio. Lots of cool things coming down the pipeline. Let us know what you want to see next month if you have any ideas, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.